Good morning and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Karen Skiles and I'm pleased to be your hostess for today's webinar. We've been delivering our monthly webucations to you since 2007 and we're very happy to see so many returning guests back with us for today's presentation. Today we're pleased to have Mark Mittelman, Solutions Development and Support with the United States Postal Service with us. Mark's presentation is titled Lean Solutions, Agile Transformation at the United States Postal Service. You can download the slides directly from the link in the chat box or from our website at www.itsmacademy.com/webinar-archives. We'll be tweeting during this presentation. If you'd like to join in, please use #AskITSM. We've got a few polling questions to help Mark learn more about today's listeners. Excuse me. So let's start with the first poll that we have today. And the first poll is, how do major IT applications development projects fare in your companies? Always on time, on budget, with high ratings for quality. Challenged due to time delays, budget overruns, or functionality concerns. Frequently unsuccessful, canceled, or put on hold, or other. Please make your selection. Okay. Well, Mark, we have a runaway with 79% challenged due to time delays, budget overruns, and functionality concerns, followed by 14% frequently unsuccessful, canceled, or put on hold, and 7% other. And we have a 0 on always on time, on budget, with high ratings for quality. Okay. Our next polling question. How experienced are you with Agile development methodologies? Not at all experienced? Initial learning with adoption on small projects? Perhaps you're gaining increased experience and knowledge through projects? Highly experienced on small, medium, and large projects? Or other? Please make your selection. And during the presentation, the information that Mark presents may raise some questions, or you might be looking for some additional clarification or information. We've scheduled his time at the end of today's session to answer your questions. So to submit your questions, just use the chat window that appears in the GoToWebinar control panel, which is located in the upper right corner of your screen. Open your chat window by clicking on the plus sign next to the word chat, and just type your question in the chat log section and click the send button. Please feel free to submit your questions at any time during the presentation. We've got a large number of attendees for this session, and Mark has a lot of information to share with us. We'll answer as many questions as possible today, and as always, we'll compile all of the question and answers in a Q&A report and email you the link to download the report in a few days. Okay, we're going to close this poll. And we have, on this one, Mark, we've got 42% gaining increased experience and knowledge through projects. We've got 29% initial learning with adoption on small projects, followed by 18% not at all experienced, 8% highly experienced on small, medium, and large projects, and a 3% other on that. And our next poll is your company's maturation level with Agile development? What is that? Is no experience at all with the company, limited early experience exploring on a few projects, currently implementing an organization-wide Agile standard, significant experience and maturity with Agile, or other? Please make your selection. We have a couple sections a little bit close here, Mark. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes and then see. Okay, just finish making your selection and we're going to be closing the poll. Okay. Okay, Mark, we have 51% currently implementing an organization-wide Agile standard. 28% limited early experience exploring on a few projects. And we have a tie at 9% on no experience at all and significant experience and maturity with Agile. Thank you so much for that. And our last poll. Has the use of Agile changed project success in your organization? Are you not using Agile? Minor improvements in delivery and success metrics? Some improvement in delivery and success metrics? Or significant improvement in delivery and success metrics? Or other? Please make your selection. Again, we've got a couple of close ones here, Mark. Okay, finish making a selection. We're going to be closing the poll. Okay, thank you. And Mark, we have 34% some improvement in delivery and success metrics, 23% significant improvement in delivery and success methods, and we have a tie with a 16% not using Agile and 16% minor improvements for delivery and success metrics. So I want to thank you all for sharing that information with Mark to give him a better sense of our audience today. Thank you so much. For those of you new to ITSM Academy, here's a quick overview. ITSM Academy is a full-service provider of ITSM education. We've trained tens of thousands of students on site across the Americas and in our public training centers in Fort Lauderdale, Dallas, Minneapolis, Phoenix, Reston, Salt Lake City, and Tampa, as well as in our virtual classrooms. Now let's introduce today's speaker, Mark Mittelman. Mark is a senior information technology leader for the United States Postal Service who has over 30 years of technology and business experience. Mark is primarily responsible for managing 4 large IT solution development centers that create innovative technology solutions critical to business operations. Mark is also responsible for development of the enterprise data warehouse, solutions architecture, and application testing functions. In Mark's role, he is also a strategic business partner who is responsible for working with the business units and leveraging the appropriate technology solutions in transforming the USPS business. Mark joined the USPS in 2006 and has held multiple positions within the information technology organization prior to overseeing all development and support for over 600 systems across the enterprise. Under his leadership, the USPS IT development organization has transformed itself to become more agile and responsive in delivering solutions leveraging new technologies in short intervals to more quickly realize business value. One such transformation is the ongoing implementation of Agile at the enterprise level, increasing project transparency, improving quality and validating early and often with postal business partners that the solutions meet defined objectives. Mark has personally fostered and guided innovation and increased business efficiency through the implementation of Agile, Scrum, Scrumban, Agile engineering, software tools, mobile solutions, and service-oriented architecture to measure and increase productivity, while at the same time changing the development culture to one where management and staff can openly communicate ideas and issues. Prior to joining the USPS, Mark held a number of senior IT leadership positions in the private sector with companies delivering enterprise software solutions to the federal sector, last serving as Vice President of Supply Chain Management Solutions at General Dynamics. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Karen. Good morning, everybody. I'm very excited to speak to you about our experience implementing the Agile methodology at the Postal Service. I believe there will be plenty of time at the end for any questions. I must say I'm not terribly surprised at the results of the polling questions, and I appreciate everybody taking time to fill those out. Just to sort of recap what I heard, 0% are claiming always on time, on budget and with high ratings for quality. That perhaps is a slightly lower number than I might have expected, but the 79% challenged and 14% unsuccessful is in alignment with things that I've generally seen in industry. It looks like approximately 79% of all of you on the line are involved in Agile in some way, either from an initial learning perspective to highly experienced, with the bulk of it being gaining experience. Sounds like from a company maturation level, we've got approximately 50+% currently implementing Agile on an organizational-wide standard. That's actually wonderful to hear. And lastly, has the use of Agile changed project success in your organization? Sounds like 57%, if I'm doing my math correctly, see somewhere between some improvement and significant improvement. And I suspect that's a reflection of where people are on the maturation curve, that the more mature all of you become in your organizations with Agile, as well as the same with us here at Postal, the greater that benefit will be.
This is Chantel.
As Karen mentioned,
Hello?
my name is Mark Mittelman, and I'm the Postal Executive in charge of Solution Development and Support. We currently perform development out of 4 geographically dispersed solution centers located in St. Louis, San Mateo, California, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and Eagan, Minnesota, as well as the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area.
Yeah, no.
Solutions Development supports over 900 applications and has a development organization of 500+ employees with additional contractor support, and conducts ongoing research and development of technical solutions for the future.
Yes, ma'am. Huh?
Yeah, we can hear some.
Yeah, excuse me 1 minute. Can everybody mute themselves except for Mark?
Thank you, Karen. I should have said that at the beginning.
Thank you.
As I was saying, Solutions Development supports over 900 applications, has a development organization of 500+ employees with additional contractor staff, and also conducts ongoing research and development of technical solutions for the future. The bulk of my 30+ years is in the area of large-scale software development and software development methodologies. And Karen, it does not look like my screen is forwarding.
No, I don't see it forwarding yet, Mark.
Okay, give me a second.
Okay. Nice graphics, though.
Any idea, Karen?
I don't. You're in presentation mode?
I am, and I'm seeing the title screen.
I'm seeing the title screen also.
Bear with me, folks.
Just give us just a moment, please.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about
There
that.
you go. There it is. Thank you.
Looking at the agenda today, we're going to cover a range of topics related to Agile. First, I'll briefly talk about the growing trend in industry for software projects. Given what's going on in industry, I'll also give you a high-level overview of the postal technology and business environments. The meat of the discussion I'm going to lead will cover 3 areas: our overall Agile program, specifically our implementation of Scrum, Agile engineering, and lastly, our recent implementation of the Scaled Agile framework, also known as SAFe. Next, we'll move into a retrospective examining lessons learned, the benefits we've realized through the program, and discuss some of our challenges. Finally, I'll wrap up with a discussion of how we stack up against industry and look at where the Postal Service is heading next with the Agile program. There are no shortage of statistics within industry that outline the success and failure rates for software development projects, and I think our polling questions also showed that as well. Anecdotally, just by looking at the chart, I'm certain you can guess the meaning behind the numbers. We've all seen it. Green is good, red is bad, and yellow is our nice way of saying something is going bad. To set the stage for the discussion of the yellow and red areas, in June of 2012, respondents to a Gartner survey identified 6 frequently cited causes for project failure: cost variance, late delivery, functionality issues, quality concerns, cancellation prior to launch, and application not used or canceled after launch. So let's look at what these numbers really mean. Industry-wide, according to a 2012 Chaos report on the state of software development projects, 43% of the projects were challenged, as shown in the yellow. Within that 43%, a whopping 74% had significant schedule overruns. Also within that 43%, 59%, nearly 3/5, had significant cost overruns. Not a good picture. 18% of projects, as shown in red, were either canceled prior to implementation or never resulted in significant use, leading to eventual cancellation. The combination of yellow and red shows over 60% of project implementations have serious issues. Now let's talk about the green area. While 39% of the projects were successful, even within that number there is cause for concern. Within that 39%, only 20% of the features were used post-implementation, while 50% of the features were hardly ever used, contributing to the schedule and cost creep, increasing total cost of ownership, and reducing overall return on investment. Given Postal's large enterprise requirements, vast volumes of data and transactions, and general complexity, these statistics tend to reflect our reality at times. We recognized that a new strategy for success was needed. Now that we've looked at what's trending in industry, I want to talk specifically about the Postal Service. Everything at the Postal Service is big, including our infrastructure, data volumes, and data processing requirements. As a very large enterprise, we have one of the largest computing infrastructures in the world, supported by 1,200 plus IT employees and a sizable contractor community. IT is responsible for nearly 900 applications maintained at the 4 geographically dispersed centers that I already mentioned. We have 40,000 plus facilities, 38,000 post offices, 150,000 computers, 13,000 smartphones, 45,000 point-of-sale terminals, 310,000 handheld scanners, and systems that use and store approximately 33 petabytes of data. Our applications support over 40% of the world's mail volume, process over 60 billion in revenue transactions, handle 310 million mail scan events per day, operate on a near 24/7 basis, and have high availability and high throughput requirements. And that's just a handful of our statistics. The stakes are high for Postal. And in this type of environment, with complex, dynamic business needs and highly integrated systems, successful software development is a challenging but critical endeavor. Like the rest of industry, we've also had some challenges on our IT projects. The Postal Service has experienced great change over recent years. A significant portion of our employees are retiring or changing jobs, both in the business and IT areas. In some cases, institutional knowledge has significantly decreased from highs of the past decade. Likewise, given the breadth and depth of our enterprise, the dynamic needs of our business organizations, we can no longer afford long lead times, massive requirement initiatives, and perfect static business requirements locked in early in the system's lifecycle. Perfect requirements simply aren't achievable for us. We know from experience that our technical teams must be able to adapt to changing business needs. Unfortunately, under the waterfall approach, change was generally identified as bad. Based on the stakes and the cost of failure, living with limited transparency on project schedule and cost is simply not acceptable to us. Like many organizations, customers sometimes had little view of the entire development cycle. Improvements in project delivery and quality were required, if not demanded by our management and our customers. In addition, our business teams needed and wanted IT to be a partner, provide leadership, and help drive the overall business and technology solutions. Let's talk about the objectives we outlined specifically for the Postal Service Agile program. We decided to move from the traditional waterfall methodology to an agile methodology based on a core set of objectives identified by management, business customers, and our technical teams. Lack of regular communication was often cited as an issue. Improving communication across and within the business and technical teams throughout the entire systems lifecycle was critical. Agile drove daily communication, and the customer, or to use Agile terms, product owner, is deeply involved in the process. Project management too often centered around complex project plans that were frequently out of date shortly after they were published. Agile drove the use of processes and tools providing clear daily metrics showing quantitative measures, what was accomplished, what's in progress, and which impediments were holding us back. Agile for us was less plan-driven, though we still use plans, and much more value vision-driven. With the customers fully engaged, project success increased through greater collaboration and feedback in all phases of the work, particularly the sprint planning and sprint reviews. Quality increased through the use of tools and automation in the areas of continuous integration, test-driven development, automated testing, code quality checkers, and built-in continuous improvement loops. And of course, speed to market increased through the use of 2-week sprints to demonstrate value to the business and improved prioritization of our value streams. Similarly, we try to limit release planning to nothing longer than a quarter. Prior to that, we often did releases either much too fast, following a waterfall methodology, or 6 to 9 months, maybe even a year, which was too long to go. Our Agile program scope covers 3 areas to realize high-level objectives that I just outlined. Those areas are business planning, Scrum methodology and development, and engineering best practices, which we've called Agile engineering. At Postal, we chose to focus our initial Agile implementation on the Scrum methodology, followed by the implementation of Agile engineering, and most recently moved into business planning. By focusing on the second and third areas as our first 2, we had greater control in driving the initial change, and as we matured, we saw there was great benefit to addressing the business planning area. There were multiple development approaches under the Agile umbrella, ranging from Kanban to feature-driven development to extreme programming. All of these can work well when properly followed. We chose Scrum and Scrumban, arguably 2 of the most widely used approaches for development and maintenance initiatives. Scrum provides an iterative and incremental framework for managing product development. Note the emphasis on product versus project. Scrum defines a flexible, holistic product development strategy where development teams work as a unit to reach a common goal. It challenges assumptions found in the traditional sequential approaches to projects and enables teams to self-organize by encouraging co-location and online collaboration of all team members. This includes daily face-to-face communication among all team members. A guiding principle of Scrum is that customers can change their minds about what they want and need, and change is healthy and not viewed as a negative metric. For our maintenance efforts, we implemented Scrumban. Scrumban is a combination of Scrum and Kanban, generally meant for more unpredictable work environments where plans and requirements can change often. Scrumban offers flexible project management and is focused more on production support and smaller scaled maintenance. For us, it was also advantageous to spin our teams up with Scrumban because we could get many more people involved, and that was a good precursor to getting them involved in Scrum. Engineering best practices drove us to implement automation around continuous integration, test-driven development, automated testing, and the use of multiple tools for code quality management. This reduces manual labor through automated processes, reduces technical debt, and drives substantial increases in overall quality. More recently, we began focusing on business planning, helping our customers in the early business and product planning instead of waiting for huge requirements to be dumped on teams after months of business analysis. For our largest products, we have started implementation of the Scaled Agile framework. I'll address all three of these areas in the next slides. Now let's walk through the Agile Scrum process flow we use at Postal. What you'll see is that Scrum stresses business partner collaboration, iterative and incremental development, and daily project transparency. First, let me define a couple terms. Product owners are business stakeholders, key users, and decision makers. Scrum Master is the coach, facilitator, and the Scrum process owner. Walking through the diagram, left to right, once a vision is created by the product owner, the team, comprised of product owners, the Scrum Master, team members, and other stakeholders, creates the product roadmap and product backlog of requirements. This backlog is prioritized and evaluated for opportunities to implement chunks early so business value is realized faster. The team then conducts release planning, story reviews, and sprint planning, where requirements are composed into stories with acceptance criteria defined up front. Those user stories are assigned story points, prioritized, and assigned to specific releases in 2-week sprints. At the Postal Service, the product is developed in 2-week sprints by self-organized teams. Each sprint, daily 15-minute stand-up meeting. After each sprint, daily 15-minute stand-up meetings are held with the entire team to review accomplishments, next steps, and look at impediments. Product reviews are completed at the end of each sprint. During these reviews, business owners plan and review workable code to eliminate surprises. Sprint and release retrospectives are performed to drive continuous improvement with everyone involved, are documented in our version 1 tool, which we use for agile management and as an agile support tool. At Postal, we still perform end-to-end systems integration and end-to-end customer acceptance testing, but the time frame is greatly reduced as many tests are prepared, automated, and conducted during the actual sprints. Okay, so that's a lot in describing that diagram, and I want to see if I can summarize it just a little bit more. Here's a lightning round of what Scrum framework means. Product owner creates the product backlog, which is a prioritized list of requirements. During sprint planning, the team pulls small chunks to the top of the sprint backlog and decides how to implement those pieces. The team has a certain amount of time, called a 2-week sprint, to complete its work. The full team meets 15 minutes each day to assess its progress, known as the daily stand-up meetings. Through the process, the Scrum Master is facilitating across all the participants, keeping the team focused on its goals, and ensuring that the Scrum process is followed with fidelity. At the end of each sprint, the work could potentially be usable by a customer, though every effort does not result in a 2-week production deployment. The sprint ends with a review and retrospective with the entire team, and then as the next sprint begins, the team chooses another chunk off the product backlog and begins working again. That's the lightning round for the Agile process flow. The Postal Service has for a long time maintained a strong commitment to Lean Six Sigma processes. The adoption of the Agile methodology by IT complements the emphasis on Lean practices. The diagram in the upper right depicts that there is an explicit link from customers to processes to execution, which is necessary to ensure the organization is aligned with the changing needs of the business. Both Lean and Agile focus on eliminating waste and rework, small batches, shorter cycle times, delivering and improving value for the business, and of course, continuous improvement. In keeping with Lean, Agile emphasizes self-organizing teams, teamwork, and collaboration, particularly between the business and IT. Highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Agile also focuses on reducing risk through iterative development and incremental deliverables, delivering highest priority items first, increasing business partner satisfaction through frequent delivery, continuous alignment and refinement of delivered products to business needs, project management based on quantitative trends, business changes are welcomed, documented, and assessed immediately, transparency of the project progress, issues, and resource usage, and of course productivity increases. Also, Agile fits in well with some of our newer principles here at Postal, which we like to call fail fast and good, not perfect. We applied these principles primarily to new innovation and new product delivery or proof of concept efforts that we do. Now let's look at the Postal Agile roadmap that we followed. Earlier I spoke to the sheer size and complexity of the postal enterprise. This pertains not only to our business needs and infrastructure, but also to the sizable organization structure required to run such a large 24/7 company touching every household in the nation. That same size and complexity also extends to the numerous business functions supported by the IT development organizations. At the start, we envisioned the initial rollout and institutionalization of the Agile program would take 3 years. However, our depth and breadth have driven us to a slightly longer, but perhaps more realistic timeline. During the first 3 years, we assessed the organization, created our roadmap, started communications, initiated training, started key policy revisions, began heavy coaching on key programs. By year 3, nearly all projects began using Agile, and we expanded the Agile engineering effort based on the clear value and ROI to be gained from that effort. Currently in year 4 and in year 5, we are extending the program well outside the IT organization, while also working to reduce the need for external contractor-based coaching by using strong Agile trained PMs. We are also implementing comprehensive automated testing and fully integrated business planning using the Scaled Agile framework. Throughout this journey, we learned the importance of sustained coaching and also the need for continuous improvement and assessment of our own program. As a high-level enterprise status, we've achieved many significant milestones in the implementation of the Postal Agile program. Our IT policies and procedures have been updated to reflect the change from waterfall to Agile. Likewise, we worked with our supply management and business organizations to update policies related to procurements. To date, we've completed 485 Agile releases across 224 applications on projects of all sizes and complexities. Over 1,500 staff have been trained in Agile Scrum, engineering, and SAFe. Nearly 1,700 business and technical users have been trained and are currently using our Agile Project Management and Support Tool, version 1. Our use of metrics continues to expand, including product, sprint, and release burn downs, along with resource velocity metrics, scorecards to measure Agile progress and maturity across the development and business organizations, engineering tools to measure automated testing, code coverage, software builds, failure rates, and code quality, and customer surveys are used to obtain feedback on Agile projects. Early on, we had 2 methodologies in play at Postal. When we started the Agile program, we maintained the waterfall methodology while we performed Agile proof of concept validations, evaluated benefits, and determined the enterprise rollout strategy. However, I do want to take a moment and outline the differences we found between our previously used waterfall methodology and the Agile Scrum methodology we use today. If done correctly, Agile is value-driven through feature delivery. Waterfall is planned delivery through fixed task, start dates, and end dates. Agile is more about individuals and interactions. Waterfall focuses on tools and processes. Agile tracks progress by working software and business value delivered. Waterfall tracks progress against the project plan. Agile embraces change. Waterfall often avoids change and frequently views it negatively. Agile stresses the importance of defining done. 95% in a waterfall project implies some type of value, whereas in Agile, done is only measured by 100% completion. And lastly, normally Agile will fund for product completion. Waterfall efforts will generally fund for project completion. That's one we're still working on here. We still do a form of system integration and customer acceptance, but they're reduced. This allows for final regression testing as well as validating the promotion paths across complex non-prod to prod environments. There's a governance component. The governance is for our compliance as a final check in terms of supporting our SOX initiatives and to ensure documentation is maintained in our lifecycle repository. Final preparation for release includes validating automated deployments and ensuring notifications to other key business and IT stakeholders, such as a help desk, monitoring teams, and others, occurs properly. Transparency is a key principle in the Agile methodology. Without transparency, things go wrong fast. Project teams lose motivation. They don't want to fail, but quality suffers as the teams struggle to get something delivered and eventually burn out through pressure to find a way to deliver. Teams end up feeling hopeless and overcome by technical debt, productivity, and morale suffer. Customers then lose faith. They rarely get what they want when they need it at the price they agreed to. Management tries to fill those gaps through micromanagement and message control, and stress levels there rise as well. We typically project manage at 2 levels on our Agile projects, one for management and another for the project team. Project team management employs daily reviews with the Agile Scrum processes to identify and address issues, clarify and validate business requirements, and provide true project status. Bi-weekly or monthly management reviews provide summary information on cost, schedule, risk, and issues. By using Agile Scrum and our Agile support software, we now have project transparency to view daily progress on project status. We still manage the overall project using Microsoft Project, as noted in the right top portion of the diagram. However, significant portions of that project plan are for managing procurements, setting up hardware environments, tracking the sheer number of sprints, and some other non-developmental tasks. We manage the development effort performed during the sprints with version 1. You also see 7 commonly used version 1 reports in this diagram, and these are the reports our project managers use when monitoring a project. The top left and top middle reports allow you to get a view at the program level with regards to releases implemented or planned, as well as the scope across time. The middle left reports show velocity on how much work a team is performing per sprint. This is critical for predictability and planning. The bottom 3 reports show the release and sprint burn downs, which is progress of the release or the sprint per the plan. The bottom right report gives you the ability to drill down into user stories themselves and view status by the team. Version 1 has over 70 canned reports, but you can also display dashboards and develop your own. All of this allows anyone on the project to monitor project status. To date, we've trained over 400 of our development resources in the Agile engineering practices. This includes 18 hours of classroom training and 4 to 8 weeks of hands-on coaching. Many of these courses are outlined on this slide over on the left. The training focuses on 3 areas. First, continuous integration. Second, test-driven development. And third, code quality best practices. Continuous integration is where development teams build, test, deploy, and report their work frequently. Test-driven development, which is incorporated into our definition of done for Agile sprints, ensures that each new feature has built-in automated tests based on the specifications. Code quality practices use automated tools, typically open source software, that are run at selected intervals, such as during code check-in, to validate code quality. Tools like AppScan are currently being configured to perform automated security vulnerability checks. You can see a list of some of the common tools that we use over on the right side of the diagram. Some of the key benefits the USPS has realized from the Agile engineering practices are automation of manual error-prone tests with a great ability for reuse, improved and accessible code quality checkers, making code more reliable, efficient, secure, and maintainable, an ability to assess code quality for employees and contractors and define standards for performance, and lastly, strong code quality habits, providing ongoing education for our development teams. Our teams developed, now let's talk about the engineering levels with regard to our Agile engineering effort. Our teams developed these maturity measures for Agile engineering based on industry benchmarks. Across the top of this chart, you see 4 Agile engineering levels ranging from training through expert. Down the left side are the major work streams: develop, test, build, deploy, and visibility. It's important to note several things about this chart. First, it can be applied at both the team and organization level. Agile is run by teams, and not all teams perform at the same level. We discovered several interesting characteristics as we monitored performance against this chart. New teams typically dipped in performance, but through coaching and perseverance, performance eventually improved significantly. The longer the teams stay together, the more proficient and productive they become. Lastly, we were surprised how quickly some individual staff grew in capability. Surprisingly, often the more junior staff. Our goal was to get everyone to journeyman. This has been a slower process than we initially anticipated, primarily due to the time to acquire and set up the engineering capabilities and the newness of some of these constructs to our teams. Teams that perform at the journeyman level generally participate in peer reviews, practice refactoring. Refactoring for us is changes made to the internal structure of the software so that it's easier to understand and cheaper to maintain without changing the external behavior of that software. Refactoring for us is not rewriting the code. Use of automated functional tests, static code analysis, and improved code coverage. Automating builds. Leveraging a CI tool such as Jenkins, and using automatic deployments in the lower environments, at the very least in development, and automating build process output and using reports as input. While we have many teams at the journeyman level and a few teams and staff who exceed that, we are currently transitioning much of the organization from novice level to journeyman level from an engineering perspective. I've mentioned the Scaled Agile framework a couple times, so let's talk about that. SAFE is a publicly available framework for applying lean and agile practices at an enterprise scale. Very important to us given our size. It synchronizes alignment, collaboration, and delivery for large numbers of teams across 3 tiers. The portfolio tier defines a centralized strategy, ethics, enterprise architectures, and overall budgeting. The program tier involves release management, project management, vision and product roadmaps, program epics, and release features. And the team tier operates under the program vision, has Scrum teams, sprints, and value delivery via user stories. At its core, all three tiers in SAFE focus on program execution, alignment, which is really roles, governance, product management, coaching, and communications, code quality, and transparency. Implementation of SAFE at the Postal Service is particularly important as we have many projects with large teams, some exceeding 200 to 300 people during critical phases of the life cycle. One recent success was our full-service mailing program, which during one portion had 33 concurrent Scrum teams. From an industry benchmark perspective, SAFE on large enterprise programs can result in significant benefits. Increased employee engagement, 30 to 75% faster time to market, 20 to 50% increase in productivity, and 50% plus reduction in defects. On one postal program, change requests using SAFE were reduced by 98%, resulting in significant reductions in documentation updates and saving over 2,000 labor hours. Likewise, defects encountered in CAT and post-production release were drastically reduced. We learned a lot throughout our implementation of the Agile program. Agile is not a silver bullet. It takes work. It exposes impediments, but it does not fix them. You have to fix them. Executive management must actively promote and participate in this effort. Agile is a culture change. It's not just about funding. You must lead by example. Agile is fundamentally about discipline. That's a misnomer for many people who think it's very freewheeling. In fact, the best Agile teams display more discipline than most teams, especially in the areas of planning, testing, test-driven development, continuous integration, and test automation. Your Agile projects may not fare well at first. This is not unexpected. You have to power through that. Teams take time to form and improve. Keep your teams together to better monitor progress and get faster results. If it's not measured, it either isn't done or it won't improve. Establishing and tracking metrics is key. Use experienced coaches to drive, mentor, and facilitate the change. Training alone is not enough. You must implement Agile with fidelity. Scrum fall, the mixture of Agile and waterfall, will fail. Likewise, teams that modify the Agile Scrum process into Agile Light will also fail. Regularly communicate and market the Agile program progress, direction, and successes to all levels of participating organizations. This is very important to drive awareness and sustain the culture change. Lastly, engage with business owner management and leadership early to get them bought in. We did this at the start of individual projects very well, but should have done this throughout the entire program to acclimate the business organizations well ahead of their projects. Besides learning a great deal, at Postal we've also realized some amazing benefits through Agile. Customer satisfaction has increased, resulting from a close partnership with IT and from the delivery of greater value needs prioritized at the top of the list. Customers have a greater understanding of the value of IT, and they understand better how and why changes cannot always be immediately implemented. Transparency is greatly improved, allowing for early identification and resolution of issues and impediments. Here at Postal, we have more projects completing on time and within budget, always a great indicator of success. Code quality has increased, technical debt is reduced, and in particular, we have fewer and fewer post-implementation issues. And lastly, and this is an important one, team satisfaction and productivity are increasing. That's a direct result of self-organizing and self-management philosophies embedded into Agile. Not to mention, success breeds success and increases employee morale. At Postal, we're constantly reassessing our challenges to seek improvement as well. According to a recent version 1 Agile development survey, the top barriers to Agile adoption in descending order are ability to change culture, resistance to change, availability of personnel with necessary skills, consistent management support, customer collaboration, availability of dedicated resources, project complexity or size, and perceived time to transition from other methodologies. Many of these line directly to challenges we faced at the Postal Service, and we're actively working on our own continuous improvements. As mentioned, Postal is a very large enterprise with complex business and functional needs. Likewise, our development organizations are typically geographically separated from business customers. In addition, our development teams are a combination of career employees, union-based employees, and contractor teams. All of that makes the overall management a little more tricky. There's still room for improvement at the Postal Service. Change is hard, and Agile is a new way of working with transparency that leaves some uncomfortable until they see the value and establish it as a real habit. As I start to wrap up, I think it's important to look at how the Postal Agile program stacks up against industry. Gartner recently published a set of key characteristics for modern application development lifecycle management. On the left, you can see the items enumerated by Gartner, including agile methodologies, modern tools, enterprise agile project management, and a number of DevOps tools. Since this is the first time I use the term DevOps, DevOps is a software development method that stresses communication, collaboration, integration, automation, and measurement of cooperation. Sound familiar? On the right are the characteristics of the Postal program, which are wonderfully in sync with Gartner's views. This is a terrific validation of the Postal program for us and can serve as a blueprint for other organizations in various stages of their own Agile program implementation. In keeping with our 5-year roadmap, at Postal we're currently focused on expanding Agile, Scrum, Scrumban, and engineering processes to all projects, including those in and outside the IT organization, expanding the use of Agile on non-development projects such as infrastructure and telecommunication upgrades, and large CIO-wide compliance projects such as PCI, SOX, and security. Continuation of our measurement and continuous improvement efforts, establishing a more formal tie-in of metrics with our IT performance achievement organization, which has overall governance responsibility for all metrics. Expansion of Agile at the business planning level using SAFe, including creating a better tie-in to our corporate financial funding processes, and continuing to drive forward with a more self-sufficient Agile program office, cautiously transitioning from contractor coaches to proven internal staff. In conclusion, I'd like to thank the ITSM Academy and particularly Karen for the opportunity to present Postal Service's status on Agile development. In addition, while I'm the Postal executive over the Agile program, I'd like to take a moment to thank our CIO, our Vice President of IT, John Edgar, who's actually spoken for ITSM before, my peers, and the various IT managers and technical teams at the Postal Service, all of whom are the real drivers in making Agile a success. My email address is also listed on the side. Please feel free to email me on any topics I've shared here. I'm a firm believer in the importance of networking and helping other organizations. I have no doubt that we can also learn from those of you listening in as well. And on that note, Karen, assuming time allows, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you so much for doing the webinar for us. So we really enjoy hearing about the U.S. Postal Service because it's something that we all use and so we can relate to. So thank you so much. That was really very, very informative. We've got some questions, but before we get to them, and I just want to remind all of our listeners to chat in your questions. If you have any more, chat them in now for us. And before we go to the Q&A, I'm going to ask my colleague, Eric Montijo, he's here to share some information with us. Hello, Eric. Eric?
Hi, Karen. Thanks for introducing me.
Yeah.
Hi. Can you guys hear me okay now? Hi, yeah. Karen. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you doing, Eric?
I'm doing wonderful. Hi, everyone. My name's Eric Montijo. I am the enrollment specialist here at ITSM Academy. So I work with our alumni building personalized education plans. Listening to Mark speak today really solidified for me how critical process design is for the IT organization, specifically one working towards becoming agile. CPDE supports agile and lean practices by providing a repeatable way to design new and improve existing processes, serving as the how-to. CPDE also provides a step-by-step approach to managing the organizational culture change associated with any process design or improvement initiative. CPDE describes proven techniques that can be used to reduce waste and streamline existing processes. Our next CPDE course is March 23rd, and it's actually the last time that the course is going to be, will provide 1.5 ITIL credits. Further, though, CPDE is a core class in our brand new Agile Pass, which gives CPDE our new Agile course, Certified Agile Service Manager, and DevOps Foundation, which is the cultural phenomenon taking development and operational management teams by storm. I urge you all to take a look at it on our brand new website, itsmacademy.com, and then send us an email to info@itsmacademy.com for more information, or if you'd just like to comment. So back to you, Karen.
Thank you, Eric. And one of our listeners asked what CPDE stood for, and that's Certified Process Design Engineer.
That is correct. Sorry about that.
That's okay. We get into our lingo. Thank you, Eric. Okay, now, for those of you that are going to be dropping off, before we start the Q&A, I just want to let you know, Mark, we just got a whole lot of questions coming in, so this is great. But before we start the Q&A, I just want to remind everybody that there will not be a March webinar due to all of the school vacations and the spring breaks. Our next webinar is scheduled for Thursday, April 16th, when Nick Wilding, Head of Cyber Resilience at Axelos, joins us with his presentation titled Cyber Resilience, There's No Time to Waste. And the presentation revolves around the digital age and how it's providing all organizations with incredible opportunities to innovate and grow, but it also has opened up a whole new world of risk and risk to the information that's most critical to our future success. So please join us for that on April 16th when we talk about the cyber resilience. Okay, Mark, you ready for some questions?
I'll do my best.
Okay. So I have a question from Jerry, and he's asking, your Agile implementation timeline seemed extraordinarily long. Why did it take years to begin implementation?
Well, it didn't take years to start our first implementations, but it was a significant effort to train our staff and to really ingrain the Agile process into our methodologies. We had for so long actually very well-defined methodologies and processes around software development that we needed to change all of our documentation, educate our people. Remember, our development organizations are dispersed around the country, so getting the word out was not simple. We did a lot of early proof of concepts. We actually focused it on one development center in particular just to start with. So while the timeline is long, it's a timeline for a full enterprise complete adoption. The initial rollouts to actually get us started in Agile went fairly quickly, with some success and some difficulty, because as I mentioned, what you find initially is that just because you've gone Agile on day one doesn't mean everything is better.
Thank you, Mark. Greg is asking, version 1 is a project management tool, is his question, and that came about when you were on the transparency slide.
Well, we're still using Microsoft Project for significant portions of the project management, as I discussed, but version 1 is really an Agile management tool. It does many, many things. It tracks the sprints. It does all of the charting that I walked through on that transparency slide. Version 1 is specifically geared to the Agile processes. There's a couple major tools out there. Version 1 has one. Rally has one. We evaluated several and ended up centering on version 1. But it's not your standard Microsoft project management. It's specifically geared to the Agile process.
Okay, thank you. Nima is asking, do you have a change record per sprint, or are they grouped together in one change record to be released in production at a defined time?
When we actually do our implementation into production, we do create a change record, but no, because our sprint process is pre-production, we're not creating change records for each of those. I will say that at the Postal Service, we do have a very formal and well thought out change process. So we probably, better than your average organization, handle those types of changes. But no, it's not necessary as you go through the sprints to create a change record, at least not in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. I have a question from Rose. I'm sorry, not Rose. I have a question from Dahlia. How does change management fit into this Agile process? Is a change advisory board gathered to review and approve an application release after it has, after it's passed automated testing and before it gets to release management to be deployed?
So the answer is yes. Just as we did under waterfall, we do maintain change management boards. The change management boards are focused on scope, cost, and schedule changes. In that example where I talked about a 90% or 98% reduction in change request, which was on one of our very, very large enterprise projects, what I'm talking about there is in the past, under waterfall, every one of those changes had to go through a very lengthy process, even though we knew they would eventually be implemented as a part of that release. During the Agile sprint process, we would find that problem, immediately correct it, note it in the sprint, note it in version 1, completely document it, but we saved thousands of hours in the way we handled that. But we do still formally convene a change control board for both scope, cost, and schedule changes.
Thank you, Mark. And Greg is asking, how well does your Agile process align with PMBOK, with project management, PMP? Mark?
Oh, I'm sorry, Karen, you were on mute. I think it aligns quite well. In fact, through the leadership of our performance achievement organization, we have trained the bulk of our organization in project management, and most of our organization has obtained PMP. We're now in the process of starting to go back and get the Agile versions of those certifications. But project management still very much applies.
And I've got a couple more questions for you, but I also have a couple of comments for you. Excuse me, Greg had said DevOps equals what they should have been doing all along, which is what we all know that, right? DevOps is what we should be doing all along.
Right.
And then, and Rose did have a comment for you as well, and she said, thank you for your time, awesome presentation, excellent use of my time. And I have several of those. What a great presentation this was. So thank you for that as well.
Great, I appreciate that.
What would you say, yeah, and what would you say is the biggest difference that you've seen going from waterfall to Agile?
Wow. Trying to boil that down into one item might be a little bit difficulty. I will say it's a different way of working with the teams. Having self-organized and self-motivated teams is a very different way of working and trusting. The other thing I would say is Agile drives, necessitates, whatever the right word is, the commitment and collaboration with the customer. If you're not getting that, you absolutely are going to struggle in implementing Agile. Now the good news is Agile is going to expose that right out of the gate. Too often under waterfall, and we've been guilty of it too, we attempt to move the project forward with a verbal commitment from the customer but without their commitment in action. Agile shows you right away whether you're getting that or not.
Good. Thank you so much. And thank you again, Mark. I mean, it's just really been a pleasure working with you to pull this presentation together and have you come and join us and present. And there's just so many accolades that people are chatting in, I just can't tell you. That's all the questions that we have for today. And just to let you know, Mark's a practitioner, so he's implemented this. And so a lot of you will ask us for these types of presentations because you like to hear from the practitioner and you like to see what's working and what's not working. And we're going to continue to bring you practitioner presentations such as this, discussing Agile and IT service management implementations and challenges as well. People want to hear this. So if you would like to share your implementation experiences or challenges on our webinar, just let us know. I'll be happy to work with you to have you come and present with us as well. And once again, just a reminder that there will not be a March webinar due to the school vacations and spring breaks, but our next webinar will be April 16th. And April 16th, we're going to have Nick Wilding here, and he's going to talk to us about cyber resilience. So we hope that you can all join us for that. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. I want to thank you again, Mark, for presenting such a great presentation for us today. And everybody have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Karen. You've been wonderful to work with. I appreciate all your help.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.